The call came at 2 in the morning. My father's voice cut through the darkness. "We need you home. Now. Your brother needs you." I had been living peacefully in Seattle for 3 years, building my career as a software engineer, keeping distance from the family I had grown up with. But that tone in his voice carried the familiar weight of command, not request. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to roll over and go back to sleep. But family obligation pulled at something deep inside me. I thought they needed my help. I did not know they needed my life. I got dressed and started the 6-hour drive through the night back to my hometown in Oregon. Before I tell you how my own blood tried to destroy me, drop a comment below and let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this story takes twists you will not see coming. Trust me, you will want to stick around to see how this ends. Now, let me take you back to that drive when I still believed family meant something. I arrived at dawn. The family house sat in a quiet Portland suburb, looking exactly as it had when I left. My father, Robert, was waiting on the porch. At 58 years old, he still carried himself like the police sergeant he used to be. That authoritative presence never left him, even in retirement. My older brother Travis was inside, and the moment I saw him through the window, I knew something was seriously wrong. He would not make eye contact. He just sat on the couch, head in his hands, looking like a man who had already lost everything. Travis was 4 years older than me, 32 to my 28. He had always been the golden child. Star athlete in high school. Homecoming king. Now he worked at a car dealership selling luxury vehicles to Portland's wealthy. My mother, Diane, was not there, which struck me as odd. Robert explained she was visiting her sister in California. The timing of that trip would matter later, though I did not know it then. The whole house felt tense, secretive, like walking into a room right after an argument ends. Robert did not waste time. He sat me down at the kitchen table, the same table where we had eaten breakfast as kids, and he told me what happened. 2 nights ago, Travis had been involved in a hit-and-run accident. An elderly pedestrian. The victim was in the ICU with severe injuries. Travis had been driving home from a client dinner. He had been drinking. He panicked when he hit the man and drove away. Security cameras caught a partial license plate. The police had not connected it to Travis yet, but it was only a matter of time. Travis finally looked at me. His eyes were red. "I cannot go to prison, Marcus. I just got engaged. Sarah is pregnant. My whole life is just starting." The desperation in his voice was real. I felt a wave of shock roll through me. This was serious. This was criminal. Someone was fighting for their life in a hospital because my brother made a terrible choice and then made it worse by running. I told him what seemed obvious. You have to turn yourself in. You have to face this. It was an accident, but leaving made it so much worse. That is when my father's expression changed. His jaw set in that way I remembered from childhood, when he had made a decision and expected everyone to fall in line. "That is not why we called you here," he said. Then he laid out the plan. He wanted me to claim I was driving Travis's car that night. He wanted me to take the fall. His reasoning came out methodically, like he had rehearsed it. I was younger. I had a clean record. I lived out of state, which would make investigation harder. And Robert still had connections in the Portland Police Department. "I still know people," he said. "We can make this work." Travis leaned forward. "You do not have a fiancé. No kids. You can start over." "I cannot." The words hit like a slap. Was he really asking me to go to prison so he could keep his comfortable life? Robert kept talking, appealing to family loyalty, bringing up shared childhood memories, telling me this was what brothers do. "I protected you boys your whole lives," he said. "Now I am asking you to protect your brother." I refused. The word came out firm and clear. "This is insane. I am not going to prison for something I did not do." I stood up from the table. Robert's face darkened. "I knew you would be selfish," he said. "You always put yourself first." The accusation stung because it was so unfair. Putting myself first, I was refusing to commit perjury and accept a prison sentence for a crime I did not commit. That was not selfish. That was sane. But my father was not done. He brought up something from my past. When I was 19, I got caught with a small amount of marijuana. It was a stupid mistake from college. Robert used his police connections to make it disappear. The charge never appeared on my record. Now he was using it as leverage. I saved you then. You owe us. Travis showed me photos of Sarah, his fiancée. He talked about their unborn child. The manipulation was thick in that kitchen, suffocating. I felt guilt trying to take root in my chest, but I pushed it away. This was not a reasonable request. This was not about helping family. This was about destroying my life to save Travis from the consequences of his own actions. I told them no again. The argument escalated. Voices got louder. Finally, I walked toward the door. I was done with this conversation. As I reached my car, Robert called out from the porch. His voice had changed. It was colder now. If you will not help willingly, we will find another way. I looked back at him. In the early morning light, my father looked like a stranger. I got in my car and drove back to Seattle. The 6-hour drive gave me plenty of time to think. I felt shaken but relieved to be leaving that house behind. I had no idea the nightmare was just beginning. 3 days passed. I tried to focus on work, tried to convince myself it was over. Then 2 detectives showed up at my apartment door. They were polite but firm. They had evidence connecting me to the hit and run. Travis's car had been spotted near my old storage unit in Portland. I kept a unit there with some furniture. I had not moved to Seattle yet. The security footage showed someone using my keycard to access that storage unit on the night of the accident. The car was hidden there for 8 hours, then returned. The detectives also had an anonymous tip. Someone reported that I had borrowed my brother's car that weekend. I stared at them in disbelief. My family had actually done it. They had planted a false trail leading directly to me. I gave them my alibi. I was working late at my office that night. The building has security logs. My coworkers could verify I was there. The detectives took notes but looked skeptical. They said they would be in touch and left. The moment the door closed, I called my father. He answered on the first ring like he had been waiting. "You actually did it," I said. "You are trying to frame me." There was a pause. Then Robert admitted everything. They had been building a case against me for 3 days since the moment I left their house. He had a spare keycard to my storage unit. He used it to create a digital footprint. He made it look like I had hidden the car there. His justification had evolved. "You forced us to do this. You would not help." I could not believe what I was hearing. My own father was framing me for a serious crime, and he was blaming me for it. He claimed they only meant to create reasonable doubt, not frame me completely. But the momentum had built. Police had found a witness who claimed to see someone matching my description near the accident scene. Later, I would learn Robert paid that witness. Money from his retirement account, cash transactions untraceable. Travis got on the phone. His voice shook. "I am sorry, Marcus. I really am. But it is too late to stop now. If we back out, we all go down." My brother was apologizing while actively participating in sending me to prison. Robert came back on the line. He delivered his final ultimatum. "Just admit it. Take a plea deal. With a good lawyer and your clean record, maybe 2 years, minimum security. Travis would get 7 to 10. You are younger. You can rebuild." Rage flooded through me. "You are my family. How can you do this?" My father's response came quick. "We are doing this because we are family. Travis has more to lose." I hung up. My hands were shaking. I sat in my apartment trying to process what was happening. My family was not just asking me to sacrifice myself anymore. They were actively destroying me because I refused. I hired a lawyer immediately. Her name was not important then. She was just someone from a referral service, someone who handled criminal defense. Over the next week, I watched the case against me grow stronger. My lawyer discovered more planted evidence. There was a fake rental car receipt in my name for the night of the accident. Someone had doctored the timestamp on my office security log. Robert had used his old police contacts for that one. There was a bank record showing Travis had lent me money on the same day as the accident. The transaction was fabricated, but it looked legitimate. Then came the worst discovery. A witness came forward saying they saw me driving erratically near the accident scene that night. The witness was one of Travis's friends from high school. I remembered him from barbecues and birthday parties. He was lying, but he was convincing. The media picked up the story. Tech worker framed brother in hit and run ran in the local Portland paper. My employer put me on administrative leave pending the investigation. My girlfriend Jessica broke up with me. We had been together 8 months. She said she could not handle the drama. I understood, but it still hurt. My life was falling apart in real time while Travis continued working at the dealership, going home to Sarah every night, living his normal life. The injustice of it burned inside me. I could not eat, could not sleep. Every time my phone rang, I expected more bad news. The prosecutor offered a plea deal: plead guilty to vehicular assault and leaving the scene of an accident. 4 years instead of the potential 10 I faced if convicted at trial. My lawyer said the case looked bad. She recommended taking the deal. The evidence against me was substantial. A jury might believe it. 4 years of my life for something I did not do. 4 years while my brother stayed free. I needed to see the victim. I needed to understand what Travis had done, what they were asking me to pay for. I found out his name was Mr. Patterson. He was 73 years old, retired teacher. He was still in the hospital but recovering slowly. I visited him, did not tell him who I was. Just said I was concerned about his case. Seeing him, seeing the actual human cost of Travis's actions made me more determined than ever. This was not just about me anymore. This man almost died. He deserved justice, real justice. My mother finally called. She had returned from California. For a brief moment I hoped she would be different. I hoped she would see how wrong this was and help me. That hope died quickly. She sided with Robert and Travis. Her reasoning felt like a knife. Travis made a mistake, but you are strong enough to survive this. He is not. Even my mother had chosen my brother over me. Even she was willing to sacrifice me to protect him. That night was the lowest point. I sat alone in my apartment, facing prison for a crime I did not commit. My entire family had united against me. I had lost my job, my girlfriend, and my reputation. I stared at the plea deal paperwork on my table. Part of me wondered if I should just sign it. Just end the nightmare. Let them win. Maybe 4 years was better than fighting and losing at trial and getting 10. The despair was suffocating. I almost broke. Almost. But something shifted in me that night. Anger crystallized into determination. I refused to sign the plea deal. If I was going down, I was taking them with me. I fired my first lawyer and hired Catherine Hayes. Catherine was different. She was a former prosecutor who had switched to defense work. When I told her my story, she believed me. More importantly, she saw the path forward. "We do not just prove you are innocent," she said. "We prove they are guilty of conspiracy." I had to document everything, gather counter evidence. I reached out to an old friend from Portland named Derek. He had become a private investigator. When I explained what was happening, he agreed to help immediately. "Your dad screwed over my uncle years ago," Derek said. "I am in." Having someone on my side, someone who believed me and wanted to help, felt like oxygen after drowning. Derek started surveilling Travis. He discovered patterns quickly. Travis was meeting regularly with the witness, the friend who claimed to see me driving that night. Derek caught them together at discreet locations. Coffee shops in different neighborhoods, a park at odd hours. And he caught something crucial on camera: cash payments. Travis handing envelopes to his friend. Phone records showed calls between them starting the day after the accident. This was conspiracy, and we had proof. I focused on the storage unit evidence. I requested the full security footage from the storage company. What we got back was interesting. The footage showed someone entering with my keycard, but the video had gaps. It skipped during crucial moments. Catherine subpoenaed the original files. Storage companies keep backup servers. The original footage still existed, and it showed Robert, not me, entering with a cloned keycard. My father on camera planting evidence, creating the false trail. We had him. Catherine subpoenaed Travis's car repair records. This took some digging, but we found it. The car had been damaged and repaired secretly 2 days after the accident. The body shop owner had been intimidated by Robert initially. He was scared to talk. But Catherine offered protection, assured him he would not face charges for his silence. He agreed to testify. He could describe the damage, match it to the accident, and confirm Travis brought the car in. We hired a digital forensics expert to examine my office security logs. The expert proved the timestamps had been altered. More than that, he traced the alteration back to an IP address. That address linked to a computer belonging to one of Robert's friends, someone still working in the police department. Another piece of conspiracy. Another criminal act we could prove. The bank transaction investigation revealed the truth. The money supposedly lent to Marcus was actually deposited and then immediately withdrawn by Travis. Catherine found the banking employee who handled it. She remembered Travis specifically. She remembered him asking strange questions about making a transaction look like it went to someone else. She was uncomfortable at the time but did not think much of it. Now she understood. Now she would testify. We had evidence. Real evidence. But we needed a confession. Catherine and Derek devised a plan. We would make my family think I was breaking, that I was ready to give up. I called my father and asked to meet in person. I said I was considering the plea deal but wanted to talk first. Wanted to understand why they really did this. Robert agreed immediately. He probably thought he had won. The meeting was arranged at the family house, Robert, Travis, and me, but I was wearing a wire. Derek and Catherine were listening from a van parked down the street. I walked into that house feeling different than I had 3 weeks earlier. I was not the same person anymore. I sat at that kitchen table again and pretended to be defeated. "I do not understand," I said. "Why did you really do this?" Robert leaned back, and I saw it. Arrogance. He thought he had won. He thought I was there to surrender. So he talked. He confessed to the entire plan. He talked about cloning my keycard, about paying the witness, about using his police connections to falsify evidence. He talked about it like he was proud of his planning, his strategy. Travis added details, trying to justify himself. "You do not understand the pressure I was under. Sarah was pregnant. I had a future." He kept talking about his pain, his fear, never acknowledging what he was doing to me. I asked about my mother. "Was she part of this from the start?" Robert nodded. "Your mother knew everything. We sent her to California to maintain deniable cover. She was never supposed to be directly involved. I had what I needed. A full confession on tape. I was about to stand up, about to signal Derek and Catherine. But Travis noticed something. The wire. The small recording device hidden under my shirt. His eyes went wide. "What is that?" Everything happened fast. Travis lunged at me, trying to rip the device off, trying to destroy the evidence. We crashed into the table. Robert joined in trying to stop me from leaving. For a moment it was chaos. 3 men fighting in a kitchen. Then the door burst open. Derek, Catherine, and police officers. Real police. State police. Not anyone connected to Robert. Catherine had looped them in before the meeting. They had been waiting outside, listening, ready to move. Robert and Travis were pulled apart from me. Handcuffs came out. The officers read them their rights. I stood there breathing hard, watching my father and brother get arrested. Charges against me were formally dropped within 48 hours. The prosecutor apologized personally. New charges were filed immediately. Travis faced hit-and-run, vehicular assault, and conspiracy charges. Robert faced conspiracy evidence, tampering, bribery, witness intimidation, and obstruction of justice. His former colleague in the police department was also arrested for helping falsify records. The paid witness was arrested for perjury. My mother faced conspiracy charges for her role from the beginning. The media coverage shifted overnight. I went from suspected criminal to victim. Travis's fiancée, Sarah, left him when she found out the truth. She took their unborn child and moved to another state. I learned later that Mr. Patterson, the accident victim, had recovered enough to give a statement. He supported me publicly. He said he was glad the real person responsible was being held accountable. The trials happened over the next several months. Travis took a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to all charges and received 8 years. Robert refused to plea and went to trial. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury convicted him on every count. The judge sentenced him to 6 years. During sentencing, the judge made a statement I will never forget. "You abused your position as former law enforcement and betrayed your own son. This represents the worst of what a parent can do." My mother accepted a plea deal, probation, and community service. In exchange, she testified against Robert. I do not know if that was about saving herself or finally doing the right thing. Maybe both. I also filed a civil lawsuit against all of them for defamation and emotional distress. That case is still pending, but my lawyer says it looks favorable. I returned to Seattle after the trial ended. My employer reinstated me with an apology and compensation for the lost wages. My apartment felt different when I walked back in. Lighter somehow, but also emptier. The first few weeks were difficult. I had nightmares. I jumped at sudden noises. Trust did not come easily anymore. I started therapy. The therapist diagnosed me with PTSD from the ordeal. That made sense. I had been through trauma. But there were small victories. I slept through the night without waking up in a panic. I laughed at a coworker's joke and it felt genuine. I enjoyed a meal without the constant anxiety sitting in my stomach. Derek remained a close friend. He told me once, "You fought back." That takes real courage. Catherine stayed in touch too. She was proud of the outcome and offered friendship beyond our professional relationship. Those connections mattered. The hardest part was not the legal victory. It was accepting what my family had done. I had to grieve. I had to mourn the family I thought I had. It was like they died in a way. The father I thought I knew, the brother I grew up with, the mother who raised me. Those people did not exist. Or maybe they did once, but they made choices that killed those versions of themselves. I started seeing patterns I had missed before. Travis was always the favorite. Always. When we were kids, if there was one piece of cake left, it went to Travis. If money was tight and someone needed new shoes, Travis got them. I was expected to understand to sacrifice to be the easy child. The pattern was set early. I just never saw how deep it went until they literally tried to send me to prison. My mother sent letters from her house arrest. Long letters apologizing, making excuses, asking for forgiveness. I did not respond. I was not ready. I might never be ready. Travis wrote from prison too. His letter tried to explain himself, tried to justify what they did. I read it once. Even in his apology, it was still about his pain, his fear, his regrets. There was no genuine remorse for what they put me through, just regret that it did not work. I made a decision. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. I could release my anger, let go of the bitterness without letting them back into my life. They made their choices. Now they live with the consequences. I get to choose who is in my life now. And I choose people who would never ask me to destroy myself for their benefit. 6 months after the trial, I was thriving at work. I got promoted. My boss told me I showed incredible resilience. A friend invited me to a barbecue, and I met someone there. Her name was Elena. We started talking, found we had common interests. I asked for her number. We started dating slowly. I was honest with her about what I had been through. She was patient with my trust issues, understanding, without pushing. That meant everything. I built a chosen family. Derek, Catherine, my work friends, Elena. These people showed up for me without agendas. They celebrated my successes without jealousy. They supported me through bad days without expecting anything in return. This was what family was supposed to feel like. The first holiday season without my biological family felt strange but peaceful. I hosted Thanksgiving dinner at my apartment, just a small group of friends. We made new traditions, better traditions. Mr. Patterson reached out and invited me to coffee. He wanted to thank me for pursuing the truth. We met at a small cafe in Portland. He was walking with a cane but doing well considering everything. We talked for 2 hours. He told me about his life, his career as a teacher, his grandchildren. I told him about the case about my family's betrayal. He listened and then said something I needed to hear. You did not just save yourself. You stopped them from doing this to anyone else. That perspective helped. My father could not abuse his police connections anymore. Travis had to face real consequences. I reflected on who I had become through this. Stronger, definitely. More discerning. Less naive. I learned to trust my instincts. The red flags about my family dynamics had always been there. I just ignored them because they were family. Now I pay attention to red flags no matter who is waving them. I understand the difference between loyalty and self-destruction. Loyalty to family is important, but not at the cost of your own integrity, freedom, or life. Therapy helped me process the deeper issues. I could love people from a distance without letting them hurt me. I no longer felt guilty for prioritizing my own well-being. That was not selfish. That was survival. I recognized the toxic dynamics that had always existed, the golden child and scapegoat roles, the conditional love, the manipulation tactics. Seeing those patterns helped me avoid them in future relationships. I started volunteering with an organization that helps the wrongfully accused. I used my experience to help others recognize when they were being manipulated or framed. I shared my story anonymously online to help people going through similar situations. Derek told me I was making a difference. That mattered. My nightmare had become something that could help others. That gave it meaning. 2 years after everything happened, I can say I am genuinely happy. That is something I could not have imagined during the darkest days when I almost signed that plea deal. I see my mother occasionally. We meet at supervised sessions as part of her probation requirements. We are cordial but distant. We will never be close again. I accepted that. Robert and Travis are still in prison. I have no contact with either of them. Travis will be released in 6 more years. Robert in 4. I do not know what I will feel when they get out. Right now I feel nothing. I have moved on. My life is full and good without them. The lesson I learned through all of this is simple but profound. Family is supposed to protect you, not sacrifice you. When they choose to do the opposite, when they actively try to destroy you for their own benefit, you have every right to walk away. You have every right to protect yourself, even if that means protecting yourself from them. The real courage in my story was not confronting them in that final meeting. It was choosing myself. It was refusing to be their sacrificial lamb. It was saying no when everyone in my family expected me to say yes. Being alone turned out to be better than being betrayed by people who claim to love me. I learned that some people will always choose the easier wrong over the harder right. Travis chose to run instead of staying and helping Mr. Patterson. Then he chose to frame me instead of accepting responsibility. My father chose to protect his favorite son instead of demanding Travis face justice. My mother chose to go along with it instead of standing up for what was right. They all took the easy path, the cowardly path, and it destroyed them. The question for anyone hearing this story is simple. Will you let people take you down with them when they make those choices? If you are in a situation where family is asking you to compromise your integrity, your freedom, or your life for their benefit, you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to make them face the consequences of their own choices. That is not betrayal. That is survival. I found freedom not in their imprisonment, but in releasing them from my heart. Prison bars hold their bodies. But I am the one who is truly free. Free from their manipulation. Free from toxic obligation. Free from the lie that family means accepting abuse. Real family does not ask you to destroy yourself. Real family does not frame you for crimes. Real family protects you even when it costs them something. If my story helps even one person recognize they are being manipulated, if it gives even one person the courage to choose themselves over toxic family, then everything I went through had purpose. You deserve people in your life who build you up, not tear you down. You deserve people who celebrate your success, not resent it. You deserve people who would never ever ask you to go to prison for them. And if your family cannot be those people, you are allowed to find people who can. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own well-being? Have you ever been asked to sacrifice yourself for someone who would not do the same for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your story matters. And if you found value in hearing mine, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that it is okay to choose themselves. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who are supposed to love you but do not know how. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope you never have to go through what I did. But if you do, I hope you remember that you are stronger than you think. You are worth fighting for, and you are allowed to save yourself, even if that means walking away from family. Take care of yourselves out there. Choose people who choose you back. And remember that being free is always better than being broken. Until next time.